Alrighty, welcome back to another video. And in the last video, we took off the head and did a couple things there. And I think today we're gonna be hopefully getting the pistons out of the cylinders, maybe getting the valves out and, you know, stuff like that. So we're gonna be dropping the oil pan, draining all that oil. So hopefully it'll be down to the bare block after today, but we'll see. Alright, so we got the oil pan. Got my friend here. And we're gonna drain the oil now, so we can take the pan off and hopefully get the pistons out of the cylinders. So, basically you're gonna use it here, and you're gonna locate the drain plug. And then, you're gonna hold up, and you're gonna get under here. I'm gonna loosen it before I do any, hold up, hold the phone. Yeah, okay. Loosen it with the thing. And this one, yeah, there we go. Oh, my shoulder's cramping up. All right. Oh, there we go. And you want to make sure your plug thingy on the top is open so you can get air out of there and it doesn't spill. All right, now we're just gonna let that drain all the way out, and then we'll take the oil pan off. All right, we got the car on jack stands, and me and my friend are under the car here, and we've gotten all the bolts. We're gonna leave the 2 corner ones in so the pan doesn't drop on us. But he's just finishing getting 1 or 2 out, and then we'll drop the pan and hopefully get the pistons out. And instead of watching the Super Bowl, we're doing this, so, you know, cars are better than the Super Bowl. There we go. So then this should...
I would say no, I'm the same boat.
Should just come out now. Yep, there it is. And just like that, we have access to the crankshaft. So, pretty simple. Alright, so the oil pan is just off, as you saw. So now we're going to get the right size bolts, get the piston rod connecting nuts off. Yeah, ropes, there you go. Piston rod connecting nuts off, and then we'll get the pistons out and then assess the damage of tightening them down too tight and what that did. So there's our issue. So let me just do another one of these and show you how, there we go, how tight these are. These are supposed to be like, this is probably about 45 foot-pounds. These are supposed to loosen like that. They do not loosen like that, so definitely tighten too tight. Like I said, I did 70-ish foot-pounds when it's supposed to be around 40 to 45 foot-pounds. So we're going to take these out and then assess the damage to the bearings, and, you know, we're obviously going to have to replace those. So yeah, those rings look like... I need to rotate the engine ever so slightly. Alright, so now we got all the pistons out. This one is stuck in the crankshaft, so I'll have to get them out and then rotate the crankshaft by hand. But all of them are out besides these 2, or I guess whatever. And then all the pistons will be out and we'll start taking the manifold off. Alright, so all the pistons are out of the cylinders, finally. We had some issues with stuff, but it came out fine. So I'm just soaking the pistons in my concoction of different stuff. Let me just drain that out, and it's starting to clean them starting to clean them a little bit, so I'll let that sit overnight and we'll see what that does. And then looking at our problem here, there's some scratches in these bearings or whatever, but the actual bearings took the damage and not the crankshaft, so that's good. So I'm gonna let these soak overnight, and then we'll clean up all these other ones, and then I'll update you guys tomorrow. Alright, it's a couple of days later. Took a couple hours, but all the pistons are now clean. Still a little bit of carbon, but I'm not too worried about that. I might spend a little more time. But as you can see, most of them are pretty good. If you want to go watch me doing this, I live stream that, so if I don't drop them. But the rings now move freely, so that's good. And they're mostly carbon free. So the pistons are mostly done. Just got to get the bearings now. All right, now since all the pistons are clean, I'm working on taking off the manifold. I got the carburetor off and a couple of the bolts. There's like 3-ish more bolts I have to get off, but once I get the manifold off, I'll update you. All right, so I kind of didn't record for a couple days. I was doing a bunch of YouTube lives and different things, but big things happened since I last updated you. I ordered new valves. I've done 8 out of the 12 valves so far. I took off the manifold. I took off carburetor stuff. I got all that off, fuel pump, so I can get the whatnots out. I'm currently cleaning up the head. I've already started on this one with the drill and that attachment there to get some of this carbon out. This is kind of a mess over here, but I cleaned all the pistons and piston rings, and so now those move real nice. I have cleaned the manifold and done everything with that. I'll have to repaint that, but everything on this is cleaned up. I've soaked all the head bolts in rust remover stuff, scrubbed those, tapped those to redo the threads, so those are real nice. Art's back at this engine. If you want to go watch the valve job and doing all that and take the manifold and carburetor, I have a bunch of I did like 4 live streams on that. That's why I didn't record, but you can see in here, I cleaned up all this gasket stuff. The valves are really nice compared to these ones. Cylinders I'll have to clean out once the bearings get here so I can put the pistons back in and everything. But that's basically what's happened since last time I updated you. I spent like $300 of parts and I did a bunch of stuff. And I just want to show you the old valves. See all that carbon and see all that rust on that seal? That was definitely not sealing. I mean, look how bad those are. These are the exhaust ones, but that's pretty bad. Anyway, so now I'm cleaning up the set. I got my carb cleaning spark machine. So, you know, flammable liquid and spark creator, that's real, you know, really a recipe for success, you know? Anyway, so I'm going to clean this up and then I'll get back to you. All right, I've gotten this head mostly cleaned up. There's still a couple little spots of carbon I'll have to get, but I got the majority of it. You know, there's some metal showing through there, so I'll just take that and a little more and then do a little more getting off, but other than that, the head is mostly clean. And then I'm just painting different things like the oil cap thingy and then this heat shield just to protect it. And then I need to debate if I'm going to paint the head silver or if I just kind of leave it cleaned up like this. I don't know. I need to clean it up a little more if I'm going to paint it, but I still need to decide if I'm going to paint this silver or just leave it. If I do end up painting the head, I'd have to paint the side of the engine and some different things so it looked kind of natural, but I don't know. I either paint the head or I don't. I'll make that decision sometime, eventually, maybe. Who knows? All right, well, I think that's gonna do it for tonight. Tomorrow, I'll do the rest of the valves that I have. I have 2 more intake valves. I'm still waiting on 2 exhaust valves, so we'll do that tomorrow. Then we'll do a couple other things, maybe clean some more, maybe paint. I don't know. We'll see. All right, it's the next day, and I just got these 2 valves and I'm still waiting on these 2 exhaust valves. But this one I finally got in after like an hour and a half. This one took like 20 minutes. This one took like a long time because the keepers or whatever wouldn't, I don't know. It was a whole thing. So I had to put grease on the keepers, get them to stick to the valve, then I release this real quick so then it would force those keepers to stay in place. And I think that ended up working. So we're just waiting on these 2 valves and then we'll do those. Then once the head gasket gets here and bearings and all that, we'll put back in the pistons and everything. So, you know. All right, so I've decided I'm gonna just put in one of the pistons because I don't have the bearings yet, but I want to test a couple things. So I've cleaned out that cylinder and I'm gonna get some oil in there and I'm soaking the piston in oil right now and then we'll put it in. Alright, so this is all I'm going to need to put in the piston. It's this ring compressor, oil, and the piston. We soak the piston in oil to lubricate, and because when the engine initially starts, it'll have some lubrication and it won't damage anything. Alright, so I have my piston in the ring compressor, compressed and whatnot. I'm going to go around and make sure this is on evenly make sure to not hit the piston, but make sure the ring compressor is on evenly so the piston goes in evenly. And then I'm gonna go down and make sure the crankshaft is not gonna hit anything. All right, I don't know how much got recorded of that, but basically, don't force your piston stuff and whatnot. Make sure your crankshaft is all good. And put your piston in. You can do the one big blow, a couple little taps, all the above. I don't know. So that's in. And I'm gonna just leave it like that for now. And put a little oil in there to keep it lubricated because I don't have the bearing, so I don't want to hook it up to the crankshaft yet. All right, so that piston's kind of temporarily in, or not temporarily, just I'll have to take the bearing off. But it spins over nice, doesn't make noise, anything like that. I put a little oil in there to keep it lubricated and to test if anything leaks past the rings. So, you know. All right, so I got the grinder and I'm gonna grind this down because it's like in the 70s or whoever last done this car before our family. Took a welder and just welded a hole in the oil pan. So I'm gonna grind that down and re-weld some of those holes because it was leaking. And if you ever forget, a grinder and paint makes you the welder you ain't. All right, now I gotta be a little careful because I'm getting to the point of it's getting to this metal. So now I gotta be a little careful and just make sure I'm grinding down the thick stuff so I don't break through the oil pan again. All right, so we found the culprit. There's two little holes and then one right there. Just as I suspected, little hole from the welding. There must have been a hole about that size, like a stick or something went through the bottom of the oil pan someday. I don't know what they were doing. But we found the holes and we'll fill that with JB Weld, or I'll weld that. I don't think I can weld that. It'll probably just blow through, so probably just use JB Weld. You know, like I said, a grinder and paint makes you the welder you ain't. You know, JB Weld and paint works too. So I'm gonna let this sit overnight and then I'll clean up the oil pan some more. Then I'll paint it, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, so I went ahead, I did a bunch more live streams, but since then, I put in all the pistons. I still need to torque things down, but I'm putting in the last two valves. I just got one in, so I just got that back one to do. And on the keepers, I'm using this, whatever this stuff, assembly glue. It's for transmissions and stuff to help things stick. But it works on the keeper. You put it on the inside of the keepers, put them on, and then take your fingers off, and then you can use this to get them to keep when you pull that away, whatever. So that worked real nice. So I just got one more of those to do. And then pistons are all in. I have bearings to change, the crankshaft bearings on this piston. And other than that, just torque everything down, put the manifold back on, put the oil pan back on, put the head back on, and the engines together. So, I don't know if I'll do a live stream or if I'll film that or what you would call it, but if you guys want to watch that, it'll either be after this or you can find it on my channel somewhere. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the last valve real quick. Then I'm going to go down there and tighten all the connecting rod nuts. And then we'll probably, I don't know what we can do, probably put the manifold or the oil pan on. We'll decide. All right, so I got everything torqued down here, and the engine rotates nice. We just made sure the distributor is on time, and now I think I'm gonna put on the head, and I'm gonna do that before the manifold so I have room to torque things. All right, I just got the head on, and now I'm gonna see how well it cranks over, and then I'll do a compression test just because I'm curious. All right, that cranks over pretty good. I'm gonna just get the compression tester in there and see what it tests at. All right, the compression tester is hooked up. So now I'm just gonna crank over the engine and see what it tests at.